React, 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 React India.
I am Meenu. I work as a software developer at Geeky Ants. Currently, I am working on native-based ecosystem to bring design and development closer. For those who don't know what native-based is, native-based gives you beautifully curated low-level React and React Native components for rapid app development. It has more than 18,000 stars on GitHub. It is open source. Apart from work, I sometimes spend my time in doodling, and that's my sum of works. You can follow me on Twitter. I go by the handle Makkar_Meenu. And that's me, because my friends canceled the Goa trip for the 8th time, and I was filling the React India CFP just after that, just to come to the Goa. Okay, now keeping that friends' betrayal aside, let's address the second reason why I am here for, and that is how we build a design system builder. Before we dig deep into the topic, just a disclaimer, I'm not an expert, just sharing my learnings over here. Okay, so before we dig and start experimenting with the tool and explaining the tool, we need to know what is a design system. A design system is an enormous term. There are a lot of definitions, perspectives established around design systems. One of them that was stuck with me was given by my friend Tanisha. She is the mind behind all the designs around native base. She gave a talk about busting myths around design system, in which she told design system, she gave a very well-defined, summarized definition of design system, in which she told design system is a principle, collection, pattern, building blocks, set, documentation, standard that helps us in managing design, reducing redundancy, tying the whole product together, and accelerate the design process, which includes reusable components, UI patterns, style guide, voice, tone, technical documentation to provide shared language, visual consistency, standardization, better organization, rapid product development. I guess no one can remember this definition, but this is a good cheat sheet if you want to look for what is a design system. Now that we know what a design system is, let's see how building a design system process looks like. So there are certain steps that we usually follow to build a design system. To try this and understand this process better, we will try to take an example of a brand. Any suggestions? Oh, someone said Coca-Cola. Obviously, that was scripted. Moving ahead, and that's my friend. Moving ahead with some assumptions about the brand and the design processes, let's try to build a design system for Coca-Cola and manifest free supplies for the lifetime. Okay, the first step is analyzing your design process. Here are some questions that we need to ask the company, like what is the design process of the company follows? What does the company follows in internally? What tools do they use? I'm not sure about what Coca-Cola uses, but let's just assume that they use Figma and move ahead to the next step, and that is recognizing the brand's alphabet. Brand's alphabet is basically recognizing the brand's identity, that is product values and the brand type, whether it is a professional brand or a modern brand, what kind of mood it wants to depict to the user. It also includes identifying the brand languages like colors, etc. That should be used in everything in terms of design, that is user-facing. If we talk in terms of Coca-Cola, this is a company best known for the used at the time of happiness, joy, and good experience. The color red in the marketing portrays power, excitement, energy, and passion. It also stimulates the appetite, which makes it a good choice to choose a red color, like while branding a food or a drink. Then comes UI auditing. UI auditing includes identifying various statistics about the product pages in terms of design, which is finding the inconsistencies that the website and the product has, and identifying the most important and most used components in the website, and make a component out of it further. On a side note, I found a really cool tool to do that, csstats.com. This does this very nicely. It shows the colors used and the fonts used in a website in a very graphical and put together manner. Let's explore this tool and analyze what Coca-Cola website has and see what it generates. So this is how it shows. Coca-Cola uses a lot of red color, and they might have inconsistencies in terms of shades of red. So we have to find those inconsistencies and get along with the process of building a design system. We start with defining things like after analyzing, and it starts with defining design principles. Decide design-related principles such as brand identity and values that are depicted using design. A good way is to use a mood board and start jotting down what feels like, what describes the brand. If we build a design system for Coca-Cola, design principles can be real, bold, the power of red, and be familiar yet surprising. Next is building a component library. Yeah, it consists of all the styled and designed parts of a website or a software to help designers and developers work consistently and reduce the repetitive work that goes behind. I think the tech part of a design system starts with component library. In the website, these buttons, if we see, have same styles across the website. They have same border radius and uppercase text, I mean, even the color, somewhat. Like similarly, the products, cards, etc. have same buttons in the merchandise shop. These rounded buttons must definitely be defined as a component. Next is defining rules around design system. Defining rules about what is allowed by the team and what is not while extending a design system, and use it in a most creative way possible. The objective is to not lock the designer in a particular direction and yet not divert him from the design system. So designers and developers should follow a particular process while introducing something new or new components or new tokens. Let's see how rules are kept in mind in this banner. So Coca-Cola, while introducing different flavors, which didn't have red branding in them, but that depicted the flavor color of the drink, made banners that go really well with those, like the CTA button is really going well with those buttons and fonts. And I feel the mix and match of everything is very creative, and yet it is feeling very authentic. It is giving a very fresh feel to the new launch. And after this, we have come to governance strategy. After building a design system, we should have a way to govern that also. So there are 3 models of governance strategy. First is solitary, centralized, and then federated. Solitary is basically in which one person decides and approves the rules around design system and other people follows that. Centralized is the one where there's a team of design system and everybody follows those rules which are made by those team. And the last one is the federated model. Federated one is where several people from several teams are in charge of the design system. I'm not sure again what model does Coca-Cola uses, but they have different brands under the Coca-Cola company. So they must be using a same common design system for the whole company, and there must be a separated one for each brand that they have. Let me know your opinions about the same. Now the last one comes, which is very important too, and that is document and communicate the design system that is built. If teams start to use a design system, it is very important to communicate the changes to the teams, to update their process as well. So the documentation comes very handy in such cases. I think Coca-Cola has the internal documentation. By the way, we will also try to make one documentation for them. Like we are building a design system builder, we have all the processes set. So we will try to make one documentation for Coca-Cola brand. Our solution of building a design system builder is currently solving few parts of this entire flow, and that is in currently development phase. So how we got the idea of building a design system builder? Definitely by failing, learning from our mistakes, trying different solutions, giving it time to mature, and yes, we at Geeky Ends were always into building design tools and libraries to bridge the gap between designers and developers. It all started with NativeBase version 1. That was a very simple component library which didn't have any theming or any option to customize the components. Then came V2 with the main focus that components are easy to theme with very few modifications. Then comes BuilderX, which was a design to code tool that generates React and React Native code for you. So there are a lot of features which we could easily build production ready apps. But due to absence of design system, we could not extend this tool to its full potential and appeal to larger masses. After that, NativeBase got released. It is accessible, highly customizable, universal. We also changed our APIs to utility-first approach. So we already had a solid component library backing us. So we thought of using it to create a visual coding tool that can use its full potential to make production-ready apps. This is in development state right now, but again, as BuilderX, this also needed a design system. Now that we have NativeBase, we felt it was very easy to be created. We also have a component library, and it was fully customizable. So we have a part of design system which could be inbuilt in this NativeBase builder. So we embarked the journey of creating a design system builder that can be used in isolation for creating design system and can be incorporated with design system builder, or the app builder that we were talking about. So we broke the design system builder in smaller services that are provided by different modules. So the services includes generating a theme that can be used in NativeBase, Chakra, and Tailwind, which mostly people use these days. Creating a component library, using these libraries with the themes inbuilt. building a documentation website that includes all the in-depth knowledge about the particular design system, and then generating and publishing the Figma component library of the design system. So we have a bunch of modules that are used to provide these services, and these includes theme editor, asset management system, content management system, and the Figma plugin that we were talking about, which generates the component library for Figma. Let's see how and where these modules fit into this picture to help with these services. I'll explain one by one. Let's see how we are creating a theme on top of a library through this visual editor. We created a visual feedback tool to manipulate native-based foundation and component theme, which will help users to create a customized component library for themselves according to the brand requirements. Users can customize the color palette, typography, and all the foundation level theme properties available by the native base. We can also customize components base style, the variants, and change how component will behave in different states, like in hover, focus, press, etc. in different modes and platforms. We call this theme editor. After changing theme to their own values, then they can export the JSON file of the extended theme, which they can use directly in their native base apps. This is the theme JSON file that is exported from the DSX editor. We can directly extend the default theme of the native base with the JSON exported from this editor. Next, what we need was component library. So we had a theme and the native base library already built. We have to just click on the component library download button from this editor, and you get a component library zip file with the storybook in it to use by the developers directly. You just need to install the packages and your storybook runs. So the major part of design system was solved by this. And then comes the documentation that plays a very important role in maintaining a design system on a larger scale. To solve this problem, we also have a way to generate a brand website specifically for the brand. Then comes the documentation. Okay. With all the documentation about how and when to use a design system. So this is how the documentation looks like. Oh, we didn't realize that it looks like Coca-Cola. Yeah. So every brand design system have few assets, like logos of different contrasts and illustrations, or any other files like font files that they want to keep in the design system asset. We have a asset management system to handle those cases. We realize that few things in terms of content that needs to be highlighted, and like design principles that need to be mentioned in the documentation website that follows like a design system. To keep track of those things and mention those in the website, like, so we have a separate module for that is content management system, like to keep all the content related to the design system. We have almost covered all the part of design system for developers, but designers also need the component library to remain consistent across their designs of screens. So if developers and designers will use the same component library from the same source of truth, there will be no chances, like very little chances of inconsistency across design and development. For this, we are publishing the Figma component library. So keeping storybook that developers use as a source of truth, we have all the combination of props and the components that are being possible using storybook controls. So how does all this flow works with Figma? Like how does this get auto-generated? We have a storybook and a component library for the developers to work on and add the custom components as well. To create a Figma component library out of it, we should have all the visual variants of all the components. We are creating HTML pages for that, or all the variants, and then we have a plugin in Figma which takes all the inputs from that HTML page and all the variants from that hosted HTML pages and map all the properties to make a Figma component library. The example that you see right here is a Figma component library automatically generated from that Figma plugin. The entire flow that we discussed is now complete. This solves a major part of design system, I would say. Like there are a lot of advantages of building it in the first place and then scale. Few of those are, like we can manage the design system from one platform. There is design to code consistency because the source of truth is single. And we get a auto-generated component library. You don't have to create from scratch. It's just we are giving a boilerplate for that. There is no need to develop component library from scratch. And yes, developers and designers will use the tool they are comfortable with. They don't need to switch the coding thing and the Figma thing they are comfortable with. Yeah, that's all. So this whole talk was our native-based team effort. So huge shout out to them. They always say hoga hoga, which means it will happen, and finally ho gaya. Thank you.